Forrest, we need to
Hello.
talk about this like now, mate.
Oh, what are we talking about?
I've literally not 10 minutes ago just watched the finale of She-Hulk, and on my we don't this is it's a sunny, lovely morning Saturday. Me and Forrest don't usually pod, and this isn't very much of a planned thing. But I whilst I was watching it, I was filled with so many emotions. I immediately was like, Forrest, are you about? Can we talk about this right flipping now? Because I need to talk to somebody about this.
I watched this episode first thing on Thursday, and I knew immediately we needed a debrief.
We like it. Really does need a debrief.
It's a big one.
So
Yeah,
so if you haven't watched the She-Hulk finale, dear listener, please just pause, watch it, and then we'll listen to this after, just to get reactions and thoughts. But okay, so basically, we've gone through 9 weeks, 9 episodes of She-Hulk. There's been lots of downs. There's been some ups. Maybe some people have really loved it. Some people have passionately hated it. There's been some good performances, really bad performances. It's just been a whole mixed, pick and mix bag of good and bad. And this last episode went meta
right.
in a kind of in a way that I've never
No,
never anticipated.
it's there wasn't there. I'm trying to think. I'm sure there was an American show that once did. It was non-Marvel. It's like a reality show. What, One Tree Hill or something?
Yeah.
What's the show where there was one show, American show, where they literally, like, the scene where we see at one point She-Hulk is literally walking into the production offices for She-Hulk, and I'm fairly sure we see that in like people thought it was a reality show, and then actually, like, they kind of showed it's been scripted. Oh, I think, yeah, I might be talking
Yeah.
shit, but yeah. So yeah, we kind of we get a normal half an episode of just like
Yeah,
normality
like
and
15
kind of
minutes. Yeah, it kind of follows on from the fact that she hulked out. Gord's a bit too aggressive at the end of episode 8. They kind of gone through the whole legal system. They put her in where Emil Blonsky was held in kind of prison, and then they kind of let her out on bail with the exception on the fact that she won't ever turn into a She-Hulk again. But then the social media kind of went against her, and she kind of lost everything and sort of hid herself for a bit.
yeah,
Um,
and
yeah,
then she goes to see Emil. She visits Emil because she basically needs someone who's been through similar. On visiting Emil,
In,
Intelligent,
intelligent. Yeah.
that whatever that company is. It's like a version of Facebook, right? It's like social
Yeah.
media, and they're having a meeting basically, and yes, and then after that we get numerous characters come in. We get Hulk, Titania, various different people, and then we get this very very out there zany approach, where it all goes meta.
But then just before that, the moment where that the guy that's holding that cyber attack and sort of leads it, I forgot his name, Josh,
Yeah,
Jerry, I don't know,
yeah.
whatever his name is. He gets a vial of Hulk's blood and puts it in him, and then turns into a Hulk himself. When that moment happened, I was like, oh, please don't do that. And
Yeah,
when Jennifer went, this isn't a thing, right? And turned to the camera, I was like, that's good. I like that, because I'm thinking as a fan, please don't do that. And they went
yeah,
ahead with it. And as they were doing it, I was like, no, please, no, don't start this mess, because this is just going to get ridiculous. And
yeah,
so I would be okay if somehow they did some sort of Doctor Strange, go back in time, change the plot, and do it that way. But instead of, they broke the fourth wall from the offset of this series, which I can get on board with. I'm fine with, because that's where you can put in quite a lot of comedy, and you can run away with that kind of stuff. But when I mean run away, I did not expect to literally, at that point when she kind of stopped it broke down to the Disney Plus menu. She climbs out of her own thumbnail for a show into another one. So she then somehow magically gets into the Disney studio, where Marvel Studios are writing shows and doing the literal movie.
But that part, right? So this, my mind, as this is quite similar for yours, I think, Matt.
Yeah.
I flitted around in terms of opinion, feeling throughout the episode.
Yeah,
So the actual production bit where she walks in and they're sat around a table, I quite like that bit because it goes into a kind of naturalistic comedy where actually they're like, yeah, we're going to create these ideas. I quite like that. But and during that scene, I kind of through the. Do you have subtitles on?
Yes, all the time.
So through the use of subtitles, I mildly spoilt the following bit because if you notice, so when the she goes, "Where's Kevin?" Right, and then they answer back, they say, "Oh, Kevin." The first time they say Kevin, right, on the subtitles it splits K.E.V. Right, and I was like, well, hold on a minute. This is Disney Plus subtitling, right? So it's not like they've used an automatic service that would randomly decide to dot his name, as in it's an acronym, not a name, right? So I was like, and the fact that they kept doing it, but only when they were speaking about Kevin. So I was like, okay, and I was like, so when we did get the next scene, I already had a feeling it was it was either going to be a hologram of Kevin,
Of him, yeah.
Or it was going to be or whatever it turned out to be.
It was it. I think for me, when that happened, I was so. And it's they probably achieved it. That's probably what they intended to do. I was so thrown, so utterly thrown, and like I'm with you on that. In the fact that even when she kind of got into the Disney Studios and was walking into it, I was like, it felt like a Super Bowl advert.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It felt like it was something that was completely out of context. Let's just have a little bit of fun with it. Like that as a standalone thing, breaking that kind of 4-4 as a standalone thing, I'm absolutely fine with. But when you're telling a story that's canon, that's super complex, and the fact that you're going through the multiverse saga as well, when that in its own right is confusing. When you break that, when you smash that fourth wall, when you're telling a threaded story in a season finale where everything needs to be wrapped up and done in a kind of height of the climax, all that kind of stuff, it just threw me out of it. And then it just felt like this episode was not even a trolling situation for the MCU fans. It was an antagonistic attack. It felt like. Genuinely. It's like they knew from the offset this is going to fuck off a load of MCU fans, so we need to back ourselves up, make fun of it, all that kind of stuff, which is fine. That's something that you can do. It's a story that you can tell. It can be threaded through a plot line, right, and still be canon. But that last episode, very much. Just kind of, and it felt like an antagonistic approach, not even a trolling. It felt more kind of deliberate on a I know you're gonna say these stupid opinions, and your opinions don't matter because we're the MCU. We're gonna do what the fuck we want.
I think it's problematic for a lot of. I so want to be able to defend it. That's the thing is, I really love She-Hulk. I'm one of those people who watch it, and I've fought for it for the whole time. And there are definite things that would change, but actually, on the whole, I really like it. However, I think there was one tweet because I jumped straight on Twitter after. I was like, I need to know exactly what people are. And I got in there really fast because normally they launch in the UK at 8 o'clock in the morning, and this one was up at like 10:02, so I was straight on it. And this One of the tweets I saw straight after the episode was that the issue is that this episode sums up the belief that Marvel don't know where they're headed. They don't know what the next steps are. And it does, because it's so fucking obscure and so meta that they're where on earth like there's one block where we haven't spoke about yet, but actually for the shit looking at She-Hulk, we have no destination now, because like, where's Daredevil's like inclusion in this, where's She-Hulk's inclusion in this, where is like how is this relating to, like you say, the multiverse, which needs to come together at some point, and therefore it's backing up the argument that these TV series are not linked, because how can that link back? It's just it's showing that these TV series are going their own way, in which case the whole of the MCU needs to go its own way. Like, we can't, no longer can it be a central universe. It needs to just be a set of Marvel films about a wonderful set of superheroes, and occasionally these superheroes might be in each other's films. But there can't be because there can't be a connection, even a weak one, because that just makes it a poor set of films to watch. It just makes it really difficult to watch.
I think you're right as well. But like, if that is the way that they're going with things in terms of TV show, and it was, fair enough, they're going their own way, it's not canon to this, MCU thread, whatever it might be, then just make it plainly clear, because people like me as an avid MCU fan, I'm hooked on this kind of, I keep talking about this golden thread, right? I keep talking about the fact that each series, each show, each film, somehow at the end, or even if it's just in a line, a scene, it references another future film, another future TV series, or something else that everybody else is experiencing, whether it might be the blip, Thanos, the multiverse, stuff like that. As long as it's kind of referenced and it's threaded through, that's what makes me watch the content, because I'm like, okay, you're telling an extended story, a long story that I can then buy into and then find the payoff. And that's this is probably to the detriment of MCU. That's what they built the 10 years of movies up until Endgame upon. That's what it was. So that's all we know. That's all we now are led to believe. Marvel Studios create these awesome long-winded storylines. And if they're not going to do that anymore, fine. Just make it just plainly obvious. Don't lead us along.
Yeah, and you cannot do that, but also have tiny threads involved. So let's move on to what I was going to talk about a couple of minutes ago. Scar. So the introduction of Scar. So we've been introduced to Hulk's son right at the end of the episode, and this is where the problem lies, because what we've done is that Marvel have essentially said to us, or it feels like they're saying to us, this isn't canon, this isn't part of any thread, we just want to enjoy our TV series.
Yeah.
Great. But at exactly the same time, we have not heard where Hulk has gone. That is blatantly coming in a War of the Hulks film. Do you know about War of the Hulks, Matt?
Yep.
Yeah, so War of the Hulks is well, it hadn't been revealed, and it still hasn't really been revealed, but that practically shows we've had the arrival of Hulk's son. We don't know where Hulk has been, so there's a clear path there to that film being genuine. In which case, there is a thread. Naturally, there is a thread, because you are bringing in, like, that's going to be a feature film, in which case She-Hulk has got to be. She-Hulk doesn't have to be part of the film, but she's certainly part of that dynamic, certainly part of that family. So you can't say there's no thread anymore, and add any thread. It has to be completely isolated but just have other characters coming in now and then. You can have Bruce in the same way we had Bruce in the first episode, and
Yeah.
and without it can talk about. I'm not saying no discussion about any other superhero. I'm not saying, but you can't start a thread like War of the Hulks in the middle of a show that you're saying is not canon
No.
to the rest of the MCU. It's bizarre.
It's yeah. I'd like now knowing Scar now is being introduced. It's about now understanding who Scar is and why Scar is there. But like if you're like you say, if you're a comic fan, you know that there is another way of telling that story and introducing that character. And I think the other thing is as well, it's like if the apparently She-Hulk's set in 2025, and from Age of Ultron to then, it would have been 10 years, I think. Yeah, 2015 is when Age of Ultron came out. So from him going off planet to Sakaar, then doing his business, okay, and becoming a dad, to then finding out that he's got a son. That kid is 10 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
That his son is 10 years old. But not to say that they can't not, go say that this alien species grows older quicker, whatever it might be. That's fine. You can explain that quickly. But just to say, like in our, that kid, that's been 10 years. How does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also a lot of things on Twitter were talking about his hairline. People are most off put about Scar's hair. I mean, I can't say that type of detail bothers me, but I know, Matt, you're very strong on hair, eyebrows.
I am. It's a horrendous haircut, but you need to remind yourselves on Sakaar, the barber is Stan Lee with the machine hands because he tries to cut Thor hair. So if if he's got that kind of hairstyle, no doubt you've got a Stan Lee with a robotic hand that's just done that absolute hack job in his head.
That is a genius thread. If that is what they've what
I
they've
hope so.
to.
That's why I was fine with it. I was like, well, that must be because of that.
That is amazing. Yes. Yeah. So, but oh my god, yeah. So but where does it leave Daredevil? That's what I'm confused about. Where does that leave Daredevil?
That's a whole nother thing. And this is when I'm just I'm now I'm at a process where I'm just like, okay, oh my god, in the moment when Daredevil, Matt Murdock, our Daredevil that was on the Netflix series is going to be introduced into MCU, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be so good. We're going to get a dark, sort of gritty TV show, dark gritty character thrown into this canon of MCU, and they've obviously repackaged it. They've kind of reintroduced it, repackaged him, and rebranded him, all that kind of stuff. Literally given him a new suit, and completely changed it to make it work for the Disney audience, for the age, that they're targeting as well in terms of the shows and the movies. And of course, I'm like, okay, well that's a bit of a waste, but I'm also just gonna. I'm willing to go. I love Matt Murdock and I love Daredevil. I also love what Charlie is doing with the role. I'm just gonna go along with it and see how it works. However, there was absolutely no reason for him to be in that finale.
No
reason. He didn't need to. The episode 8 when they introduced Daredevil and Jennifer and Matt Murdock had that kind of relationship and they hooked up and that kind of stuff. I actually quite liked it. I thought it was quite funny. I thought it was quite charming, and that thread was quite cool. And there were still kind of nice, mysterious elements to Daredevil. You've got to keep that mystery around him because it's this whole point of his identity. But when they just brought him in just for that ending bit, and then they had that kind of final scene where it was kind of having just staying for the week around with his family and stuff, like a flipping. It felt like This Is Us kind of things. It was just like a sitcom at the end, and I was like, nah, he didn't need to do that. Didn't need to be there.
Or, completely agree. It was bizarre. It was a bizarre last scene, and also it's really muddled because I think Jennifer does allude to the fact that Kevin, as we know him in this episode, has kind of readjusted the version that she asked for because essentially says specifically, like, why's Hulk got to show up, and why basically why's the male got to be the male equivalent of her character, got to show up and save the day and bring fans along, right?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they do that anyway. So he turns up right at the end, and everything on Twitter is now about Scar and is now about Hulk. So that's even more like confusing to me, because it's like, well, hang on a minute, like, it would have been one thing to bring Hulk back, maybe, and for her to go, oh god, here he is, the one everyone loves, blah blah blah. But on top of that, they've also brought in the new element of his son, and they've they've doubled down on there being, two men absolutely overshooting a whole program about a woman who's She-Hulk. I don't know. For me, that was ultra problematic, because it's like, well, I can kind of understand it if you just brought Hulk in and she could have said a side comment, but you bought it. It's just like, what? and then they do that, right? And then they even more double that. Like it's like you can't go meta and then start talking about the fans, blah blah blah, and then absolutely flip that by double downing on having Hulk, his son, turn up, and then also the mid-credit scene is nothing to do with She-Hulk,
No.
and his two blokes again,
Yeah.
and it's Wong, who's everyone's favourite, and the Abomination Emil, and another thread into a potential, what was evidently going to be a film, or
And this is why I just feel like we're being led along. We're just being strung along, and they're just going, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, your opinions don't matter. Blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden they try and thread you through. And this is the thing. If the intention was for the show to shake up all of this and to get people talking, to get opinions rife, and to bring a new kind of eye and interest into the MCU, well, they have absolutely 100% successfully achieved that, right? But I just didn't know how to feel. I messaged you, didn't I? Well, I was like, this is either genius or the worst thing that possibly can ever happen to the MCU.
Yeah.
And I right now, because I'm still very fresh, I don't know where I'm sitting, but I am kind of just a bit shocked, and I do feel like I've just been taking the piss out of a little bit as well as an MCU fan. Does that sound silly? Do you know what I mean?
No. I don't know. For me, it doesn't necessarily bother me, but I think for me, it's less about us as an audience and more about. For me, it shows that there is some level of turmoil in Marvel. Like for me, it feels like they genuinely do not know what is going on, and they're like, because of what I've just said, you've spent a whole episode going, oh god, we don't want to, we don't want to go for the norm anymore, guys. Like, fans need to get used to it. Blah blah blah. We're gonna shake it all up. And then they've done exactly the same shit at the end of the episode, anime credit scene that's nothing to do with She-Hulk. They didn't even bother, right? For every other superhero, at the end of it, to be arguably, I don't think they do it in TV series. I'm not even. They might not have done it for Loki, but most of the time they put She-Hulk will return. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever.
Yeah.
No, none of that. Absolutely none of that. And I'm like, you can't be banging a drum and then slap yourself with the drumsticks. That's what I feel like. That's what I feel like they've done. And I feel like it's less about how we should feel that they've done that, and how actually I'm slightly concerned what is going on in Marvel, because and also, to even prove this, have a look at Blade. So what we haven't discussed in the last podcast of this one is, so Blade is without a director. The main oh my god, who's the actor? What's the actor's name there? He's come out and basically said that the product, or this is part of this is rumor. The director's actually left, but rumor is that the main character is a little bit concerned about how it's been written and the direction of travel. Therefore, they've delayed Blade. They've delayed lots of different films. X-Men's further going to be inevitably further down the road now. There is a lot of trouble going on in Marvel, right? And this almost feels like the equivalent of a, you're getting a cheap T-shirt from Primark and someone's written on a tag saying "Help me." It's the equivalent of internally in a company, someone is saying shit is kicking off here. Do you know what I mean? It honestly feels like a cry for help. So it's bizarre. It's just bizarre. There's no. You come out of that episode and you haven't got the foggiest about which side of the equation they're on and which side of the equation we therefore need to be on moving forward.
I think I don't know for the Blade. There's rumours that Sam Raimi might be taking on the Blade project, but I don't know if that's fully confirmed yet or anything like that. But that might just be rumours. But just kind of, yeah. So final thoughts on She-Hulk, Forrest, as a series and finale.
Series, I think. Strong, bold, went in its own direction. I like that. I genuinely thought it was a good program. I wouldn't have resorted to Emil as much as they did. I think actually Emil's storyline for me was a little bit like he just seems like a pathetic character now. I would have rather he'd have been the arsehole that we know of him being from The Incredible Hulk, or a completely nice character. This kind of like constantly every episode like, oh, is he good, is he actually bad, is he good, is he actually bad, I just didn't like it. But the whole series, really happy. Last episode, I can absolutely take the meta part of it. I thought that was quite zany, quite interesting, but cut the last scene of the program. Completely cut that for me because that was weird. I would have rather they ended it with Kevin and then she was like, oh well, where are we going to go next, and then cut the episode there. I also said to you, I messaged you before we agreed to doing a bonus ep about my alternative vision, which I thought, this is how I genuinely thought it might go as well, is that we were going to get to the Hulk arrives, Titania arrives, all kicks off, and then we were going to get Jennifer Walters wakes up. She looks at the camera. She goes, "You didn't really expect that to happen, did you?" And then for the camera to widen, and then we see Hulk and Jennifer Walters on the ship, which Hulk was on when Jennifer was on the phone. So actually, because then you could go. As an audience member, you're going right. So that opens a complete cliffhanger because okay, which parts of these episodes were genuinely happened?
Yeah.
And also now we don't know. Is she in a film? Is she in a TV? It would have left it really open for me, and I would have really liked that. That's how I would have ended it.
So for me, I think there's some really, really great performances. I do genuinely think that Jennifer Walters is perfect casting for She-Hulk. She brings a wonderful comedy edge to it. I really enjoyed the breaking of the fourth wall to a certain extent. And then from the moment of this last episode where they literally went full meta and they literally broke everything down, I that's where I would have cut it, because that's where, for me as an MCU fan, I just felt like they just kind of, I don't know, just threw it all away, almost. That was a really risky choice and a really, really bold choice. Again, I can't really decide whether that's genius or utterly horrendous. But for me, again, it just felt like as a fan base, they were just kind of poking fun a little bit. And I think I think that's a very risky thing to do, especially at the moment. If they did that in Phase 3, I think they'd probably forgive it. If they did that when it's towards Endgame, you're like, yeah, that's funny, that's brilliant, well done, great, I can't wait for Endgame. Yeah, they've done that at a point where the MCU fan base are questioning whether they want to continue watching, because nobody knows where it's going, and that's where I feel like maybe that's why I'm reacting the way that I am reacting. It's because I feel like it's a really risky choice, and it's kind of aggravated my allegiance and my genuine love for the MCU, universe. And I think, yeah, Jennifer Walters, Tatiana Maslany is a fantastic performances in She-Hulk. They should have just left that fourth wall as it was throughout, because that's what it does in the comics, and I get that it's true to the comics, true to the character. I get that, it's fine. Cut that whole bit in the meta bit, cut the ending, just like you, Forrest. I would have preferred, in terms of if you were to bring back Daredevil for the finale, to have made that an end credit sequence where she may have met up with him in Hell's Kitchen, and then we would have had an introduction to the old three characters of the attorney lot. I forgot his name now. Who's his mate? Matt Murdock, and he's got such a quirky name.
You're talking to the wrong person here, man.
Anyway, the guy that plays
Daredevil
the guys that play Pug in it's Pug, isn't it? It is Pug, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know. I've never watched Daredevil. Wait, I haven't. I've got.
No. I'm sorry, not Daredevil. Sorry, in She-Hulk, guy who plays Pug in
Oh.
She-Hulk, he's in the finale episode. What's his name? Pug She-Hulk. I've just done two things. Hang on, sorry. His name is Josh Segarra. Segarra. Brilliant. And it's in the finale episode, my highlight as well. Sorry, to go back to Daredevil, to get to get a reintroduction to Foggy Nelson and Karen Page, who are Matt Murdock's colleagues, and she could meet them, and maybe they could have like a little meeting, and then you kind of get introduction back into Daredevil's world in Hell's Kitchen. That would have been cool, because I like the fact that they've linked, and as well geographically they're completely opposite ends of the US. So you've got Attorney at Law with this kind of Florida edge to it, and you've got Daredevil's Hell's Kitchen, where it's really darker edge, but it's all kind of a law-based TV show. I like that link. Keep that link. That's a really nice thread, right? That's where I would have liked to have had the end credit sequence. The whole Wong and the Mel Blonsky thing, just didn't need it. Didn't need it at all. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a confusing series. Maybe would have done a lot better in the height of the MCU in Phase 2 or Phase 3. But I'd be really interested to see where it goes next. I will probably watch Season 2. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Definitely watch it, but
exactly. So it hasn't thrown me off.
But also, God knows where we're going to be by Series 2.
Yeah.
We got Wakanda Forever.
Yep.
Coming up. Then we've got Guardians 3, right? Or is it not? It might be one in between. I would have thought there's one in between, because Guardians 3 is about May, and then Wakanda is coming up.
What is it? Is it what we phase 5 now?
Phase 4.
Release dates.
I think Phase 4, isn't it? We're still need to wrap up Phase 4.
Yeah, so we got. So I mean, you saying that Wakanda Forever is what, nearly 3 hours long?
Yes, I have my reservations about this film. I am worried. The duration doesn't bode well for a Marvel film. I've got to be honest. The longer the film, they tend to be a little bit shocking. And what they're going to do about it, I don't know. I'm a bit worried about it.
Yeah, so we've also got the Guardians Galaxy holiday special that's going to be coming out soon for Christmas. But in terms of the next one, I think it is Guardians 3 after that. That might lead into Guardians 3. Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. So, dear listener, if you have watched She-Hulk and watched the finale as well, please give us your thoughts. Give us an email at don'tbeaheropodcast@gmail.com. Look, MCU, keep throwing content at us. Not everything's going to stick at the wall for your specific wall. It might stick to other people's walls. It hasn't stuck to my wall, but
what an analogy!
I know, it's a bit weird, wasn't it? I just touched it.
You say to your sticky walls.
Say to your sticky walls. That's it. My MCU sticky wall. That sounds great. Anyway, right. Well, I'll see you
I'll see you
Well,
for the next film, which is
Spider-Man.
yes. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna get my spider sense on.
Alrighty. All right, my friend. Well, that was a lovely quick little bonus episode chat there. All right. Take care.
Take care. See you later.
Alright.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend, you sweet little pups.